I'm Jim Collison, live from the Gallup Studios here in Omaha, Nebraska. This is Gallup's Theme Thursday, Season 6, recorded on February 20th, 2020. Theme Thursday is a Gallup webcast series that dives deep into the CliftonStrengths theme, one theme at a time, and today's theme is focus. If you're listening live, love to have you join us in our chat room. If you're on our live page right above us there's a link to the YouTube instance that's got the chat room in it. By the way, the chat stays with the video even after the fact. So if you're watching this recorded, find the chat room. You can't type in it, but you can follow along with us there as well. If you have questions after the fact, send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're on YouTube, any of our YouTube instances, just subscribe so you get notified whenever we do something new. And if you're a podcast listener, you can find us by just searching Gallup Webcasts in any podcast app. Micah Librant is our host today. She's a workplace consultant here at Gallup with me. Micah, always great to see you, and welcome back to this Theme Thursday.
Thanks, Jim. This is a fun one. So this season, we're exploring each theme through the lens of team. Say that 12 times fast, I dare you. But the reason we're doing it is, I think it's twofold. One, teams and themes and what to do with strengths and teams is one of the most searched things that we find. It's one of the most common asks we get of how do I use CliftonStrengths within a team? Another reason we're doing this is because we actually know quite a bit about what makes organizations work and what makes team really strong. And we know that there are 5 things that strong teams have in common. So there's not science that attaches each of those 5 truths to every theme, but we are using them this season as a jumping point to explore every single theme. So as you listen to each theme within the domain, today we're almost finishing that executing domain. I hope it gives you more insight into what your people need if you are a manager, or what your peers can do in order to thrive more intentionally if you're part of a team. Beyond just, hey, they're a doer, because it's an executing theme. So today we explore the theme of focus. Let's do the quick definition. If you have focus, you can take a direction, follow through, and make the corrections necessary to stay on track. You prioritize, then act. So the first truth of a strong team that we'll use to explore focus today is conflict does not destroy that strong team, because strong teams focus instead on results.
Yeah, and I think this is really an important point, even though number 5 is my favorite. This one is important because I think sometimes we shy away from conflict on teams when it actually makes us stronger. So when we think about, and this is the important part, right? When we think about focus on results, and I know we have the word focus in the definition here, but what does that mean?
So for focus, there's this piece of it that there's a piece of the definition of focus that spans our different articles. Every time you define focus, you see these 3 words, whether it's in first person or second person, or in your theme insight report, or just in the brief. And I think there might be the 3 most important words to understand focus. And it's prioritize, then act. So the setting of the target is really important for somebody with focus. There's a different kind of highly concentrated energy for someone with focus once they know for sure what they're aiming for. So the results need to be pretty clear. What do we mean when we say that this is going to be complete? What does success look like? What will be done when it is complete? How will we know? How close are we right now? So really being able to understand first, where are we thinking about prioritizing, and then have that moment where we click in, then focus can really run fast.
As an arranger activator, I like to just move and see where the targets come from, as opposed to setting the targets and then moving. So when we think about focus and tracking progress, what type of results might matter most for them?
So within that executing domain, I think all those themes have slightly different relationships with other themes or other people, or how much they like to compare. With focus, it is less about comparison and more about what's happening within your own swim lane or your own productivity. Progress is always in relation to the end goal. And I find with focus, it's less about counting up how much has been done. We've mentioned with Achiever, they start every day at 0. Focus, what they're really looking at is the end. So it might be more practical for somebody with focus, instead of gathering the tally marks for what you've completed, to think about how much farther do we have yet to go. People with high focus might do especially well under time pressure because they can lock in and really be zeroed in on what they're doing. In previous seasons, I've discussed focus as being beneficial tunnel vision. So don't worry if it doesn't look like their progress toward a goal is steady. They are capable of extreme bursts of productivity. If you're their manager, don't prescribe or project your own cadence onto them. Leave them freedom to pace themselves and ask how they'd like to be checked in with, how often, and what does progress mean to them. It might be more about gathering resources or feeding other themes first, and then really buckling down, maybe even at the 11th hour. And that doesn't mean they're not engaged with the entire process. It just means that their efficiency is going to come in waves.
And if you ask, they may even give you your cadence in that as well, give you some direction on that. What's the second truth that we look at, Micah?
Strong teams prioritize what's best for the organization, and then they move forward. With these first two, I think it helps us understand that as coaches or influencers within teams or people who are working with managers, that very often what makes somebody pick up the phone and call us is not the target in the end. So I often hear people say, "How can you use CliftonStrengths with conflict?" or "How can you use CliftonStrengths to prove to somebody that they're doing something important?" And I think if the target becomes conflict, then you've missed the aim already. What we already know is true about teams is that's not what they're centering on. And because the entire energy isn't absorbed by that, it allows them to focus on results. With the second truth, it's not necessarily about what does the team want to accomplish. You don't have to start a strategic plan from scratch within a team, because strong teams are already building roots and sort of taking hold based on what's best for the organization.
So it sounds like a little bit, we've been focusing on this we versus me, right? Sometimes the focus is when we think about that, what's the benefit for me as we've moved to teams? It's more about the we, the larger
Yeah.
purpose. So talk a little bit more like how else can someone with high focus really benefit a team? Again, this one seems like it's a lot about the individual, but I think it
Yeah.
can be a lot about the team as well.
So I think about ways that somebody with focus can focus on something that's about not just themselves. It might just be different creative ways to talk about priorities. Discuss the "if all else fails" option, or the "hey, when the chips are down, our team still does XYZ." They're likely to respond pretty well to this idea of essentialism or streamlined or simplified priorities. Talk about what the organization stands for, or what the most important takeaway or point of an interaction with a client is. And you might also realize that in attempting to do this, what you're trying to do is speak focus's language. So you could just ask for their help from the very beginning, be able to say, "Hey, could somebody with our team who's got high focus really summarize what you think the most important thing we heard there was?" And it'll probably be more about what's the most important next step that we take.
I think sometimes focus gets misunderstood incorrectly as being something where it would, in a creative moment, would slow things down or would get people to stop in action. But when we think about this from an executing standpoint, it is action oriented. So, how does someone inspire? What inspires someone with focus to take action?
The image I have right now, and I hadn't planned this, but I'm thinking about old cartoon dynamite sticks, because I've got this image of once you light the fuse, focus is the fuse that gets you all the way to that end goal, the explosion. And so I think it's not necessarily let's slow things down. It's more about maybe let's be cautious and careful about when we're going to light that fuse, because once we go, focus is a single track. It is let's get to where we're going. They might need space and place to run full force toward a goal. Maybe that means from you as a manager that you're creating the ability for them to really do one thing at a time. How can they sort their priorities and not have to deliver on multiple things at exactly the same pace or exactly the same deadline? Sometimes it also means leave them alone and let them get their stuff done. There's a lot of self-drive and sort of isolated motivation to focus. An environment that rewards productivity is going to be important, knowing for them that their energy has been well invested and that people have noticed how hard they worked.
And I think focus can even be one where the environment matters a lot in setting up the way the environment is set up for them may really benefit or take away from the action they're trying to take. So just as we think through workspaces, or we think through, what can they use, or how can we keep them focused, or how can they get away from distractions? If all those things matter to them, that may
Yeah.
be one where environment matters.
Yeah. And I think in my experience, when I've coached people with high focus or worked with people with high focus, it's almost as if they don't need as many artificial walls as other people do, because they can create their own imaginary cubicle wherever they go.
Yeah.
There's a magic to focus of being able to
Yeah.
drown out all the other noise and just be with what you're with.
Oh, that's a really, really good point. Okay. Number 3.
Number 3 is members of strong teams are as committed to their personal lives as they are to their work.
And how does focus show up for someone in their personal life?
When they're with you, they can really be all with you. That there's this experience, I think, of being completely immersed in what you're doing. And think about taking somebody with focus out to lunch. You can be in the busiest restaurant in the world and they're with you. It feels pretty good. They can, I think, look distracted or uninterested at times, by other things. But it's because they're the opposite. They are so interested. They are so engaged just in what they're doing. So I think about Hess Dias. So I used to work with in my very first Gallup office in Omaha, who would walk in and he had high focus, and he would tell other people, hey, you might walk past my office and I might not say hello. It's not because I'm uninterested. It's because I'm in focus mode. So get their attention on purpose. If you don't expect them just to make connections through osmosis. Simply being around someone is not the same as building that intention, that connection intentionally, especially for people with high focus.
Yeah, and I'm kind of a focus destroyer in a lot of ways. I mean, I can be a force to come in and kind of ruin that. I've actually been learning, especially as a manager, to recognize that focus a little bit better and then just avoid it. Like, let it be, let it live, let it continue. As we think about things managers can do to tap into that, what else, when we think about the personal side, what questions could managers ask?
You might ask, hey, what are you aiming for? What is an important goal? What do you want to be known for? Or even just, hey, what are you into lately? And I also think it's important when you're thinking about the balance between a personal life and a professional life for somebody with focus, just to make it intentionally. Allow that space to happen on purpose.
Okay, number 4.
Number 4, strong teams embrace diversity. This is true in so many ways, and diversity is a huge topic. I'm not trying to say that a diversity of your CliftonStrengths themes is the same as exploring the importance of diversity of, lots of different other ways that we talk about that. But it is a great jumping point for us to explore what is it that somebody brings to the team that's different from other people based even just on their talent.
What kind of words can we ascribe to this if we're just boiling
Yeah.
this down to a single word?
The person with focus on your team might be your prioritizer, a minimizer of distraction, a driver. They're powerful. They tend to be pretty on target or focused. I'm trying not to say focused, but it's true. Intentional. They bring a level of sophistication to the executing because they'll thoughtfully prioritize first before they start running towards something.
And what kind of unique perspective can someone with focus bring to a team?
I think about the consistent awareness of the team's priorities and the available resources we have to get them done. They probably do well when they can own a task or own the execution toward an important milestone within a task. Let them get on with it. So we talk about some of these other executing themes being particularly contagious or better when they're around other hard workers. Focus might not even notice others who are around them. So it's okay just to say, here's exactly what I need you to do, or here's what it looks like in the end when it's done, and then trust them to do it. Because of that, it's also something they bring to the team. They can define what does a completed goal look like. They can offer a little bit of refinement to how we're determining whether we've done what we said we were going to do. They can keep the group on track, just keep everybody talking, not necessarily about what we've already accomplished, but again, what is it that we have left to do?
My favorite, number 5. I think mostly because I'm so influence driven, but what's number 5?
Number 5, strong teams are magnets for talent. We've talked about it being both of our favorite, and I wonder if it's just because it's the most colorful wording of all these sentences. The rest of them aren't a picture, but I like the idea of magnets for talent. It's about strong teams. It's really, how do you indicate a strong team? I think it's kind of hard to build toward number 5 compared to the other 4, but it's the team everybody wants to be a part of.
And what is it attracting? I mean, what is that
What's
force that
magnetic?
that's
Yeah.
attractive.
I think somebody with focus, their intensity can uncover details that other people may miss, not because they're combing for small details, but because they're so fully present in what they're doing. And in a world where so many people, brands, groups are constantly vying for your attention, it's settling, it's calming to be purposefully all in on one thing at a time.
Yeah, and then how else would you describe it? And using some describing words that
Yeah.
others are really looking and wanting more of in a team.
I think it's hard work, and it's a different kind of hard work. It's intense work, progress toward a goal. Identify your goals and slay them is something I saw online the other day. And for focus, it's the and slay them part. It's yeah, we need to identify them first, but it's also that intensity that they bring toward what they're running to. It's a helpful nudge toward identifying and clarifying that end goal, helping define success, and the ability to stay the course. It's hard to distract somebody with focus once they're really on track, and that's a pretty attractive quality.
Yeah, and I think for someone who knows and understands that in a setting and can set that up really well for the team so that it becomes that understanding of this is the way I work, this is the way I
Mhm.
operate. I think that's the other attractive part too is when we understand those, right? When they just in their raw form and we're kind of just spewing them out there.
When we
You
understand
know,
them and when we can start to paint with the
right.
others that we have right next to them. I mean,
Right on.
focus is about locking into something and then moving it forward. Imagine how that's amplified by a number of other themes. It's got some similarities and some crossover to discipline that we talked about. It's got some similarities, I think, to achiever in that internal drive. I'm just so happy that we're exploring these domain by domain because it
Mhm.
helps us really see the intricacy of an executing theme in this case that can be amplified and modified and changed by the others that also show up alongside it.
I'm glad you said that because this has been the first time we've done it within the domains. And it's been really helpful for me to remember, hey, we're in the executing domain
Yeah.
and focus is an executing theme. Like it's so important to remember those things, I think. And those can slide across and there can be other manifestations of it. But it's been a good reminder to me as we've been going through each one of these, Yeah, that's
Yeah, it
so
has.
so
And I
good.
think maybe what we're answering is yes, it's executing, but how does somebody with this theme
No,
execute? So
for
it's a lot
sure.
about filling in that how and that personalization.
Okay, review those 5.
Yep, there's 5 again. Results, not conflict. Do what's best for the organization and then do it or move forward. Equally, work and personal lives are important. They embrace diversity and they're magnets for talent. You don't have to remember those 5. You don't have to memorize them. I think they give us a good starting point, a good scaffolding to really explore the power of the strengths that are within your team. Do not go into working with Clifton Strengths with a team with the eye of needing to have an equal balance across the 4 domains. We don't have anything that explicitly says that equals a strong team. That's why we're using these 5 instead, because we do know they're present within strong teams. So there's certainly something you could use as an evaluator to say how close or how far are we to these, and what is it that we can do, more importantly, to move toward that idea of strengthening our team.
All right. I talk too much. Let's just dive right into
Not at
talent mindfulness.
all. Thanks, Jim. We're going to end today, as we do every episode lately, with a little talent mindfulness. There is great power in your talent, whether or not you have focus. It's not the same version of power of anyone else that you likely know. So today, for the next 3 to 5 minutes, we're going to focus less on focus and more on you. So this practice will close our podcast. If you're joining live, there's another one, but it'll close out the podcast, and it's meant to be different from what we've explored so far. So I invite you to take the next 3 to 5 minutes, turn your attention away from the success of others, away from the science of strengths, and turn your energy toward yourself just for a really short time. Now, today I am going to ask you to make two lists, and I'm fully believe that you are capable of making these lists in your brain. But if this is something you feel like you might want to write down, you can grab materials to do that now. And you can press pause. I'm not going to know. If you need to press pause and come back, you can do that. Let's let go first of all the breath that you're holding in your lungs. Really push all your air out, empty your lungs. And now take a deep, filling breath in through your nose. Feel that fresh air really help you expand your torso. Hold that breath at the top. And the nice audible exhale out through your lips. Here we are. I'd like you to think of the time most recently that you were very productive. When in recent memory would you say you were exceptionally efficient? Think about a real time. Don't think too far back. When was a time that you got a lot done? You experienced sort of that executing version of flow. Now I'm going to invite you to make a list of everything that was present in that moment. You can go ahead and populate that list in your brain. You can write, you can type. I'm going to give you some additional prompts just in case you need them. What was in your physical space? What did someone else do to feed this moment? Again, this list is what was present in that efficiency moment. What'd you do to prepare? What time of day was it? What led up to that moment? What expectations were present? What kind of permission did you have? What sort of clarity did you have on what was happening? These are just prompts. There's not a right or researched answer to this. And chances are your answers to these prompts are different than someone else's. Now let's continue this by making a second list. Again, you can just think about this or you can write. If I'm going too fast, press pause. It's a podcast. I'm not actually here with you. I won't care or know if you pause me. This time in the second list, I want you to list all the things that were not present during your efficient moment. Again, I'm going to give you a few prompts because on your own, this might be a little bit harder than listing what was there, listing what was not there. What distractions were missing? Think about your physical space. What physical things were not there? Here's a big one. Who was not involved that mattered? So at this point in our reflection, you've thought about a time that you crushed it. And then you thought about what was there in that time. And you thought about what was not there. If you were to zoom out and take a look either in your imagination or on your actual piece of paper, take a look at all those things that you just reflected upon and pick two or three that are the most important ingredients you'll want to bring with you the next time you need to be especially efficient. What are the two or three most important things you notice? You can say it this way to yourself. I can get stuff done. I can execute. I can do hard things. I am efficient and effective. And in order to stack the deck a little bit more in my own favor, I need these things. it's fun to think about this entire domain, not just being about executing, but being about how do you execute. Today, we even blew away the model of the domain and just said, what about you? How do you execute? And this practice should help you start to think more mindfully about that. So that's your talent mindfulness for today.
I don't do this often, but I think if you went through that exercise for a second, just smile and maybe give yourself a hand. Like, create that space, whether you can or you can't. If you're driving, please keep your hands on the wheels, those kinds of things. But I think it's important that in those moments of those celebrations, Mike, as you're going through this, that we just celebrate some of those things that we have got done, and we got to kind of do it for ourselves. Like we can't always depend on that happening around us. Although lately that's been different for me, but sometimes we need to celebrate ourselves. So I'd encourage you to do that now. Just smile. Let everybody know around you what's going on inside, and then and give yourself a hand. We'll remind everyone with that, take full advantages of all the resources we have available for you now in the new Gallup Access. Easiest way to get there, Gallup.com/CliftonStrengths. Again, Gallup.com/CliftonStrengths. Really, best place to log in, takes you right to your strengths dashboard. So if you want to go in there and get access to that, great way to do it. We have lots of resources on that page that are available. You can sign up for the Clifton Strengths community newsletter while you're there, which just, I think, came out today. I think we got a copy of that. That is out there. You can also search Clifton Strengths and find us on the YouTube channel. So we have that out there. Subscribe while you're out there so you never miss an episode. You can find us in any podcast player just by searching Gallup Webcasts. We have a bunch out there that's available for you. And it's one of our favorite ways of communicating with you. So get those subscribed to and downloaded on a regular basis so you don't miss. If you have any questions about anything, you can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. You can see a complete list of all our courses. Maybe you're a learning junkie and you want to get some more learning. Courses.gallup.com. By the way, courses, Micah, 15% off at the summit, which is coming up June 1st, 2nd, or 3rd of 2020. If it's after that, we're probably doing another summit. And head out to Gallup.
And man, that 2020 summit was amazing.
It was awesome. We had such a great time with people. That the people who came.
That thing that you said still sticks with me.
Amazing. It was amazing. GallupAtWork.com. Register before April 4th to get the maximum discount that's going on right now. And courses are 15% off if you get there. If you want to join us live, and that's really the best way to do these, come out and listen to them on the podcast players too. Come out to Gallup.eventbrite. BRITE, Gallup.eventbrite.com, and follow us there. You'll get a notification every time. And I'm pretty good about just doing 1 a day and 3 during the week. So if you want to follow us there, you'll get notifications. Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/called-to-coach. Or if you're not a Facebooker, go to LinkedIn. Search Clifton Strengths Trained Coaches. There we go. And you don't have to be a trained coach from us to be there. We'll let you in, but let me know and we'll let you in that group as well. I want to thank you for joining us. Quick turnaround for the live audience on this. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.